Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. The Carney government unveiled its first budget on Tuesday with big investments in defense, housing and infrastructure, but not much in the way of new spending on Indigenous specific priorities. APTN's Fraser Needham has more.
L'honorable ministre des Finances.
Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne's opening remarks to the House of Commons defined the 2025 budget as a transformational one.
This budget must be generational in its ambition and serve to shape our economy and our nation's future. Il n'y a pas de place pour le retrait, l'ambiguïté.
There is no place for withdrawal, ambiguity, or even standing still. Only for bold and swift action.
Bold and swift action is what is needed. To weather the storm of uncertainty, we will not lower ourselves, Mr. Speaker. Quite the opposite. We will raise them to catch the winds of economic change because we believe in Canada.
This fits with the theme of this year's budget, which is Canada Strong, and there are strong investments in certain areas. This includes $115 billion over 5 years for infrastructure, $110 billion over 5 years on increasing productivity and competitiveness, $30 billion over 5 years on defense and safety, and $25 billion over 5 years on housing. By the government's own measure, 75% of the budget is targeted toward responding to global economic shifts, including U.S. President Donald Trump's tariff threats. Indigenous people are mentioned only a handful of times in the Finance Minister's speech, and only in terms of their role in building Canada's economy.
And to do so, we will do that in a way that protects our future, that also protect our nature, and also protect our core values. Building a true partnership with Indigenous people, whose stewardship and knowledge of the land continue to guide us today. Because we do not just build for ourselves. Because we do not build just for ourselves, we build for those who will follow us.
And likewise, there's only about $5.3 billion in new spending on Indigenous-specific priorities. This includes $2.3 billion over 5 years to address all First Nations infrastructure and water needs, $2 billion extra dollars for the Canada Infrastructure Bank to invest in Indigenous infrastructure, and $1 billion over 4 years as part of a new Arctic Infrastructure Fund. Perhaps most alarming for Indigenous stakeholders, there's no federal money targeted for First Nations education, Jordan's Principle, the Union Child First Initiative, or emergency response support beyond the 2025-2026 fiscal year. The government expects to save $60 billion over 5 years through what it calls a comprehensive expenditure review of the civil service. But funding at Crown Indigenous Relations and Northern Affairs and Indigenous Services is not expected to change during this time. The budget deficit is also expected to hit a whopping $78.3 billion in this fiscal year. Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Thanks, Fraser. The Liberals will need help in order to have enough votes to pass the budget. Here's what the Conservative Party had to say.
It was a very long speech, and given that this government is adding about $10 million to our national debt every single hour, I think we can say that while talk is cheap, it's very expensive when a Liberal finance minister does it.
And we will have more on today's budget when the national chief of the AFN joins us here live later in the show. To other news, the family of a Martin Falls First Nation man murdered in Thunder Bay is making a public appeal for information on the 3rd anniversary of his death. 31-year-old Cory Blesky was found deceased at a Northside residence in November 2022. Thunder Bay police are investigating the death as a homicide. However, the case remains unsolved, prompting Blesky's family to call on local police to step up their investigation. APTN's Mike McDonald reports.
The mother of Cory Blesky made an emotional appeal this week for information that could assist police in their investigation into his death.
November 1st, 2022, Cory, my son, my baby, was murdered. Not only he died that day, but I also died. My life ended when Cory's life ended. We're requesting that the Thunder Bay Police Service Board would approve a reward to help Cory's murder investigation. And we, Cory's family, are requesting the Thunder Bay Police to put more officers and more resources into the investigation of my son's murder.
Martin Falls First Nation Chief Bruce Achneepanishkum says the community is supporting the family in any way it can.
I stand with Martin Falls Chief and Council to keep on supporting the family in any way we can, and we'll be reaching out to the family and to keep on asking them how we can support them.
The Anishinaabe Nation is also advocating for the Blesky family.
We're going to apply pressure onto the Thunder Bay Police Services Board to approve a reward for Cory, and we'll continue to support the family in their efforts to get justice.
In a statement, the Thunder Bay Police Services Board says it is considering the request for a reward in order to support the investigation into Cory Blesky's death. Meantime, police say they remain committed to the investigation and will provide monthly updates to the family as per their wishes. Mike McDonald, APTN National News, Thunder Bay.
Thanks, Mike. Tonight we continue airing a two-part series looking at how the Mi'kmaq community of Listigouche has been impacted by the fatal overdose of 18-year-old Savannah Metallic. In part one, we heard from Savannah's mother and how devastated she is from the loss of her daughter. In part two, our reporter Savannah Craig shows us insight into how community members would like to see the issue resolved and the challenges that come with it.
She didn't even get to live her life. I couldn't imagine, losing my daughter at that age. I would lose my mind. I don't know what I would do. It's just so sad. It really is sad. I just wish I could have been there. That's all. I really do. I wish that.
Despite Celeste Barnaby's wishes, she can't bring Savannah back. Her daughter Angel was friends with Savannah. Celeste is a recovering addict of 11 years.
I was a functional addict. That's what they called it, a functional addict. I had food in my cupboard. I cooked supper every day. I did all that. I did everything a mom's supposed to do, right? But I was still using.
The hum of a sewing machine is part of her healing journey.
I'm doing a jingle dress shortly with for my daughter.
Growing up, Savannah was always around her home. Now, a photo of her remains on Celeste's fridge, along with others she lost to addiction.
Keep them so that I can remember them, that they're always in my heart. And I look at them and I tell them, I love you, Dad, or I love you, Sav, and because I do miss them.
But she wants more done to stop the spread of drugs in the community.
There's a lot of crack, speed, fentanyl, Percocet, Oxy.
Celeste is looking to law enforcement to do more.
This is our brand new cell area.
Just last year, the Listigouche police moved to a new and improved building.
And we have 6 cells.
Despite the new building, the cops say they don't have enough officers.
Right now, for the entire territory, we're 2 on patrol, so we're only 2 on shift.
Corporal Camille Arbe says this affects stopping the flow of drugs into Listigouche.
We only have 1 investigator doing drugs-related investigation.
We have some empty cubicles. We need some staff.
That's criminal investigator Tyler McDonald. He says there are numerous hurdles in addressing drugs in Listigouche.
We have it coming that way in Quebec, this way in Quebec, that way in Campbellton. Both provinces have different court systems, different styles of policing, different police services. It's a lot of lines to cross.
For Michael Martin, reducing overdoses requires healing from trauma.
We always go back to the core of our addictions is not stem from alcohol or drugs. It stemmed from historical trauma. They're taking that alcohol and they're taking that drug, so they're not feeling the pain.
Mike is a knowledge keeper and addictions counselor at the Listugush Community Social Services Directorate. A photo of Savannah hangs in his office.
Savannah, I worked with Savannah. And she taught me so much at her age. Her visions and her dreams that she didn't get to see. It's just sad.
Mike says her death is a pain the community deals with. He says it's a pain that needs to be healed from collectively.
We can talk about the problem day in and day out, but we never talk about the solution. This is naloxone or Narcan.
For Mike, one of the solutions includes expanding the services he offers. He's opening a healing space that's rooted in tradition. The site will unveil to the public next spring.
When that's completed, we're going to be putting on the teachings, the sweat lodges, the drying of meat, the whatever people want to learn, whatever they're interested in, making rattles, making drums, making regalia, whatever they want, it's all going to be back there.
The site will open to the public next spring. Despite many departments working to alleviate overdoses in the community, some say these services don't work collectively.
The people that are above me in maybe the political realm, that they have things to do and it takes time for them. And for myself, I'm patient with that. I'm not going to say chief and consul or polices or anything because I don't know their mandate and I don't want to know unless they'll come and invite me. What's going on?
We definitely need more than what's going on right now.
Some want this to change. Gary Metallic is a Mi'kmaq hereditary chief in Listugush. He was also an addictions counselor in the 80s.
When we were part of the alcohol drug program, we had a networking system of the police, chief and counsel, all the social services.
To speak with her daughters about her own battle with addiction.
To me, I feel like it's up to you to break the cycle. If you want the help, you'll get the help.
Savannah Craig, APTN National News, Listugush, Mi'kmaq First Nation.
And you can read much more on this story by heading over to our website, aptnnews.ca. Time for a quick break, and then the National Chief of the Assembly of First Nations will be here to weigh in on today's budget. Stick around. Welcome back. Joining us now for more on the release of the Carney government's first budget is Cindy Woodhouse-Neepanek, National Chief of the Assembly of First Nations. National Chief, thanks for being here with us. Just briefly, I guess, your initial thoughts on this budget.
Well, I think 2.8 billion on housing, the investment on 2.8 for First Nations housing is a good start. We still have a massive gap when it comes to infrastructure. And of course, the 2.3 billion that was announced on water and wastewater. I'm thankful that those are good starts, but at the same time, the gap is huge. We have a $360 billion infrastructure gap in this country when it comes to First Nations. And I just think, lots to do. We will be reviewing this overnight tonight. Our officials are working hard late into the night tonight, and we're going through line by line, item by item, and we'll have a more thorough review tomorrow.
Absolutely. For months now, we've heard and read that there could be big cuts, up to 15% cuts to Indigenous services and Crown Indigenous relations. But this budget's calling for efforts to find 2% savings in both departments. Is that a relief to see?
It is. I spoke to the Prime Minister on that, on making sure that they don't cut back. I know every other department has been cut back 15%. I do want to commend the leadership of Minister Mandy Galmasti, who I just talked to moments ago, and I commend her for that because she really fought hard around cabinet table, around the government itself, to make sure that the cuts weren't deeper. And so I commend her leadership on that, and I lift her up. And at the same time, there's, this First Nations have always been founding partners in this country and have always created generational wealth for all these other families. What about First Nations? And, today, the 1-year anniversary of the passing of Justice Murray Sinclair. And, when he talks to us about education getting us into this mess, education will get us out of this mess. And when I hear this government today talk about generational change and generational investments, well, where's the generational investments for First Nations? And I think that we can do better, and we're going to continue to push and, push the work that we have done that showed that every dollar that you invest in First Nations, you get $1.82 back in this country. So investing in First Nations is a good thing. So.
Just super quick here, National Chief. Any thoughts on the nation-building projects named in the budget, including what's referred to as the Port of Churchill Plus, which did mention First Nation Indigenous partnerships there?
Look, I think any project in this country, from coast to coast to coast, is going to need the approval of First Nations people on the ground in those communities, in those territories right across the country. So any smart business, any smart government will make sure that they're speaking to First Nations right on the ground. So that's my thoughts on that.
National Chief, we'll have to leave it there. Look forward to hearing more from you tomorrow. Appreciate your time.
Jimmy Wetch, thank you.
The Yukon held its 36th territorial election yesterday, and the results are in. The Conservative leading party will form the next government. Yukoners also voted on whether or not they wanted to change their current voting system. Sarah Connors has more.
The next Premier of the Yukon, Mr. Cory Dixon.
The Yukon Party's campaign slogan, "Change Starts Now," became a reality Monday night. The Conservative-leaning party won 14 of the territory's 21 seats, securing a majority government and breaking nearly a decade of Liberal rule.
What a night and what a result. Tonight, Yukoners chose to move on from the status quo. They chose a new path. They chose change.
Party leader Cory Dixon will be the Yukon's 12th premier. He held various cabinet positions with the party prior to 2016. He's also the first premier to be born and raised in the territory.
I'm grateful. I feel an immense amount of gratitude for the trust that Yukoners have placed in me and our team. And I'm eager to get to work.
While the NDP didn't get the chance to form government, it still made gains. The party increased its number of seats from 3 to 6, moving it from the third party to the official opposition. But for the Liberals, the results are a brutal defeat, with the party only winning 1 seat in the remote riding of Vuntagwitchin. An automatic recount has been triggered due to a 7-vote difference there. Former Premier Mike Pemberton also failed to secure his own riding. He says he'll stay on as party leader, at least for the time being. The election also included a plebiscite asking Yukoners if they wanted electoral reform, changing the current voting system from first past the post to a ranked ballot. The majority of voters said yes, though their choice is ultimately non-binding, and Dixon indicated his party is unlikely to advance the issue.
And we'll look at the results and take them seriously, but we're not particularly keen to change away from first past the post.
As the Yukon Party celebrates its return to power, many in the territory will be waiting and watching to see if the change promised is delivered, change that could shape the territory's political landscape for years to come. Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
Thanks, Sarah. A new episode of Face to Face airs tonight after this newscast, and we'll bring you a preview after the break. Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. Crystal Summers captured this chickadee coming in for a landing along the shores of Spanish River, Ontario. It's not the size of the infamous Mothra, but we suspect it was pretty close to Crystal's camera lens. Hopefully she's okay. For the chance to be our next photo of the day, you can send your pictures to share@aptn.ca. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, sun's out and 10 for Charlottetown, 11 and sunny for Halifax. +1 for Kuujjuaq and Nain. 7 with showers in Montreal, cloudy and 6 for Val-d'Or. 6 with showers for Sault Ste. Marie, North Bay and Ottawa. Sunny and 11 in Thunder Bay, 4 for Sioux Lookout. +1 for God's Lake, Norway House, The Paw, and Puckatawagan. 8 with the sun out in Winnipeg, 7 and sunny in Dauphin. 0 for Regina, sunny and 5 in Saskatoon. 0 for Buffalo Narrows, La Ronge, and Meadow Lake. In northern Alberta, -2 with the sun out in High Level, +2 and sunny in Peace River. 7 for Edmonton, snow, and 2 for Lethbridge. 10 with showers in Vancouver, 5 for Kamloops. 0 in Prince George, snow and 2 above in Smithers. Minus 14 in Old Crow, 2 below in Whitehorse. Minus 10 in Yellowknife, minus 8 in Norman Wells. 20 below in Sax Harbor, minus 17 for Paulatuck. Minus 14 for Chesterfield, 17 below for Baker Lake. Minus 10 for Resolute, 0 with snow in Iqaluit. Director Shane Belcourt is our guest on an all-new episode of Face to Face tonight, right after this newscast. His most recent documentary is Nina Damady's Red Power Rising, a documentary about an Indigenous-led occupation in Anishinaabe Park over nearly 40 days in 1974. That's when nearly 150 people took over the park in Kenora in protest over the ongoing mistreatment of Indigenous peoples. Belcourt says it was an exciting time for Indigenous rights.
The time of they call it the Red Scare. And you think like, oh, in some parlance, that would mean like sort of rise of communism. Right. But there was, Black Power rising in the States and in the late 60s and early 70s. And that definitely found its way over the border. The American Indian movement, John Trudell and all those guys doing Alcatraz and Wounded Knee and all those things. That momentum had really shifted and changed what was going on up here on the north of Medicine Line. And then had a big effect on lots of nations across Canada. So Cache Creek in BC had an uprising. There was obviously this one that this documentary is about in Anishinaabe Park in 1974. And that was also, my dad, Tony Belcourt, why he left Alberta and moved to Ottawa to fight for rights on the nation's capital. So it was a really exciting time writ large.
And you can watch our entire interview with Shane in less than a minute from now. We're all out of time for your APTN National News for this Tuesday. You can find more budget reaction and more on our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward. Marcy Miigwech, thanks for being with us. Stick around. Face to Face is up next. Have a great night.